G'day everyone, Jason Nunn, Fisherman's Warehouse, Tackle Marks Point, with the last Friday fishing report for 2023. Of course, backdrop behind me here, the lake, and yes, you can probably see at the back of a little drop over area here on the back of Cooney Island, plenty of boats all sort of anchored up and everyone just having a festive time. New Year's Eve coming through Sunday night. Now, of course, happening out wide here at the moment, there's been a bit of a marlin bite over the last week, quite a few striped marlin down our part of the world, generally from around about Port Stephens down to the Central Coast out on the shelf at the moment. Good numbers of striped marlin getting caught both on lures and skip baits. A bit of live baiting probably going to start to come around as well. Water temperature out there in that 24, 25, but some beautiful conditions out there to do. You've got a bit of a sou'easter that's going to come through tomorrow, but it backs off on Sunday. Sunday doesn't look like a bad day, and of course New Year's Day looks pretty special as well. Dolphin fish, a few good dolphin fish out on the shelf, but as you start to come back in on that trap line, particularly around the fad, the size of the dolphin fish at the fad have dropped off. They were quite good there probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. I just think it's because quite a few boats are getting out around the fad and trolling around on that outer trap line and catching quite a few of those bigger species. So there's a lot of undersized dollies around. You've got to move around. I think the best results out there at the present will be, of course, live baiting and putting that live bait down in and around that trap area and the fad, but still good numbers out there. A lot of trag coastal. I've been saying it now for probably about 5 or 6 weeks to be quite honest, but bag limit catches a trag down around Waibung, Birdie, Catherine Hill Bay, starting to see a few up towards Redhead Dudley, and some really nice trag getting caught up off Newcastle and further north towards the bay. Big numbers of trag. No current was the call from most of the customer base yesterday. Fishing on these inshore reefs, basically straight up and down. Good water clarity waters, 22.5, maybe a bit better in patches, but straight up and down. So very hard to get burley trails out, particularly for snapper, when there's not a lot of current around. Bonito, yes, a few guys now starting to do that. Just that's trolling your smaller skirts in and around. Certainly your deep divers and particularly working very well in on these little inshore reefs, Moon Island, down around Mawsons, down towards Birdie, and getting some nice numbers of bonito. Just no size, guys. The bonito are only quite small at the present moment. I'm sure that will increase as we certainly head into 2023 and get towards February. We start to see that bigger size bonito come through. A few kingies now mixed in with them as well, and still a few snapper on that inshore situation, and a lot of guys now going out and getting onto the gravel off Swansea and alike and chasing some of those flathead that are certainly being found. Beaches, lots and lots of dart in amongst the whiting, so you've just got to weed it out. Worms certainly to pick, and no doubt tube worms to pick. We've got the next delivery coming in, we believe, somewhere in about 2 or 3 o'clock this afternoon from Les over at Aquabait, and that will be the last delivery until around about Tuesday. So I do think we're going to get pulverised certainly tomorrow morning and definitely this afternoon on tubies. But there's a real demand at the moment for worms, guys, and probably the demand is outstripping supply quite quickly. So before you come in, if you can make those calls so we know you're coming, basically, because it's very hard to judge. But some mulloway along our beaches and some really good results happening up around Stockton as well. So same up at Stocko. Mulloway, good whiting, definitely a lot of dart, and a few flathead getting flushed out of that river system. And that's what a lot of guys have been doing, not only coming down here to Lake Macquarie, they've been going up the Hunter River, chasing a few mulloway, and definitely getting a few flathead. Around Fullerton Cove up towards Tomigo, there's been fishing quite well if you want a little bit of change of scenery. A lot of flathead in Lake Macquarie at the moment, but there's a lot more flathead now getting together, so there's a lot more males. Talked to a good customer of ours just a couple of days ago. 3 small flathead in the first half an hour. Thought to himself, there's got to be a big girl here somewhere. Sure enough, a big female flathead, well over 80 centimetres, and of course was released. But this is what is happening. Those males now are starting to get on top of the females, and everything's, that mating process happening, particularly in the current. Now the moon rolled through on Wednesday night, so our next prawn run is going to happen around about sort of like 6th or 7th of January. You'll start to see that happen, and I think the flathead themselves will go a little bit doughy for the next probably week, and you'll start to see them increase in numbers as we start to come out the back of that prawn run, I'd reckon. But a lot more fish now in that breeding situation. Still some nice brim and flathead, and of course whiting up on the flats. So if you're up there and you're throwing lures for flathead, I still believe grub tails and paddles working along those distances are perfect, or indeed getting in there and walking around at low tide and using some of those surface lures for whiting, because the whiting themselves now, with that prawn run happening in about a week's time, they'll start to now build up in numbers, and that surface lure activity will increase and the bite will get better. So there's some really good options. And just today I've had some really good reports of crabs. So there's quite a few crabs around. I know a lot of guys are out there spotlighting, but the biggest trouble with spotlighting for crabs is, guys, 90% of your catch is females. So males are getting probably a little bit watery, but there's enough out there to get a few good blueies around, still a few kings in the lake, and again, some really nice mulloway. And some really good reports of mulloway over a metre that are getting caught from the guys. I've been able to get a few squid, not a lot. There's a few squid obviously around the island, but I think that there's enough squid in the lake there now to be able to get, even if you've got half a dozen baits, that will be all you need, and then stay out there. And because basically the channel and the lake gets quite congested during the daylight hours, certainly those nighttime activities for mulloway is probably preferred. I know there was a few guys throwing a few lures at the bridge, and there are some kings at the bridge, but again, boat traffic is becoming a bit congested, so you just got to work very early or late in that bridge situation. All in all, guys, look, good end to the year. Look, everyone play it safe in the new year. Well, we're still going for another 3 weeks down the shop, and then we're starting to wind ourselves down. There's still plenty of option down there, still plenty of rods at 30% off, lures, the whole bit. There's reels are getting a bit skinny on, but that's the whole idea of a total clearance. And basically we'll pull up stumps around about the 20th, we believe, of January at this stage. So if you're in the area, call on, come on down and say good day. Plenty of bait, plenty of action, plenty of talk, plenty of fun. See you in the new year. See you next Friday.